Hey everybody, Sean here from the SciFi Model Guide, back with Chapter 4 of the Starship Enterprise 1650 scale build from AMT. Now in this chapter, we're going to be finishing up the lighting of the saucer section. We're going to be sanding the model a little bit and talking about the wiring, and some putty work is going to go into it as well. By the end of the video, we're going to be seeing all the lighting done into the ship within the cells, the upper and lower part of the main hull or secondary hull, sorry, and getting it ready for painting, which will be in Chapter 5. But before we move on, I do owe everyone an apology. I did not show any video of me actually installing the lighting, so I'm going to take a quick moment to talk about that. It's very, very simple, and I think I just didn't include it on the video because I was recording a tutorial for lighting and I just didn't like it at the end. I scrapped the whole thing. So the video that was supposed to be in this one for the lighting, this part that I'm about to talk about, was in there. So real quickly, this light, this is a spool of lighting. When you get your sections and you put the wire on them, you get them ready, you'll notice on the back here there's this blue tape. Okay, you peel this off and it's a sticky substance, and you lay it down. Now it feels very sticky at first, but just a quick warning to everyone: if you haven't used this stuff before, do not trust that stickiness. You always want to use some glue to lay down your lighting onto your model before you close it up, and you just use basic CA glue with that. It doesn't interfere with the lighting. It's perfectly fine. Just a couple dabs here and there, and you'll be fine. And then you just hit it with a bit of kicker Instaset, and you're good to go. And so with that, this video has a little bit of a mistake in it, and I'm happy to show that to you. So if you're following along with me on this build, definitely you want to watch the video until you see that mistake happen before you do anything. And then it does foreshadow a mistake that's going to come in Chapter 5 or 6. It's a little bit down the line, but it's a pretty good one. I gotta laugh at myself about it, but hopefully you're learning with me. And with that, painting, I know I keep talking about paintings coming. It's going to be in the next one, I promise. I did look ahead, and it's like 2 more segments and I start painting. So please be patient with me. I do appreciate your patience, and I appreciate your viewing time and everything, and the subscriptions and the comments and the likes and the videos. I'm thrilled beyond belief. The channel is doing much better than I anticipated it would. So I really thank you all for just enduring this with me and joining me on this journey. So with that, we're going to go to the video now. So happy modeling, and let's get this show on the road. Hey everyone, okay, we're back from our most recent break, and we are finished wiring, and this looks like a hot mess. It sure does, but this is what happens. It's spaghetti-fied. I'll tell you what, a lot of people are really, really much better at being more meticulous. I could have done a better job at this. Trying to film a video and explain it, you end up hurrying a little bit. So I'm going to clean this up. So this is all wired. I'm going to just flip on the power real quick and show you. So what we've done here, we have installed a red and a green and a red SMD here, white SMD here, and these are the blinking lights that are connected to this navigation board. Okay. Those are connected. The power, the red, the positive power cable from these SMDs are all connected to the main power that everything's connected to. The black or negative wire from these blinking SMDs gets connected to this board. This is all in the instructions. I'm just kind of giving a quick review. And it's this board that will kind of on and off on the negative to make this blinking effect. Everything's wired here. We're going to end up with 3 wires coming through this little hole that we've drilled here. A negative wire or ground, positive wire, and the an extension from this little yellow cable that is going to control the really fast blinking strobes that are in the back of the ship. These lights blink kind of a regular pulse. The strobes at the back of the ship, at the aft, blink fast. Okay, so that's what this wire is for. It's going to be one really long wire that's going to go to the back through here, and that will control those strobes. Everything else, positive, negative, we're going to end up all this little spaghetti mess that you see right here. I'm gonna tamp it down as best I can with some CA glue and with the instant set kicker that we have here, and we're gonna clean it all up as best we can. It's really messy. Kind of nature of the beast, guys, is you need room to fiddle with your hands and work and stuff, and you end up with this mess. But when you close it all together, hopefully it's all going to be in here and hidden. So, like I said, some modelers are very meticulous and do an outstanding job with their wiring, where everything is just perfect. Totally fine if you're that kind of a person, you want to do it, go for it. It's nice. It's probably the better way to go. But for my purposes here, if I'm not seeing it, as long as everything's secured and locked down, for instance, like we said, we've got all the wires coming out of these connections. They are locked down to the model where it counts, so that they don't start flying around and touching each other. Everything's secured. You're not going to see any of these little wires coming loose. This junk, personally, I take it or leave it. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, but not to the point where it looks like a robot did it. Again, if that's what you want to do, go for it. Totally cool. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to turn off the camera here. I'm going to clean this up, glue it down where I can to where I still have enough play here. I'm going to feed the wires down. I'm going to get another wire here, and I got to plug my soldering iron back in. I'm not done with it yet. Feed the 3 wires through here, glue, close it up, and then once we close it, we're going to use some tape to secure it all the way around. Do not use clamps. Do not use clamps to hold these kind of things together. I've got these. These clamps are great if you've got 2 very, very flat pieces, long. For instance, you're trying to clamp this this thing to the table and you flat, but for a purpose like this, no. Tape, surprisingly, is better than any clamp. Even for woodworking too, and connecting wood together, tape is often preferred. Anyway, long segue there. I'm going to clean this up, run a wire down. The only other thing I want to call out here before I take the break is anywhere where we have joined wires together, this here, what you see is the shrink tubing. Okay, this is not electrical tape, it's shrink tubing. I don't like electrical tape. You can use it. I have some. It has its spots, but when you're connecting wires together, go for the shrink tubing. It's like $3-4 for a 3-foot section of it. You cut what you need, put a lighter underneath it, it shrinks around, and that way you guarantee you're not going to have any positive wires touching negatives. And like I said, that's why I'm fine with the mess in here, even though we are going to clean it up. So long story short, we're going to take a break. We'll come right back, and this will be cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll close it up in real time so you can see it. And then we will test the power. In fact, why don't we test it now? We'll just kind of close it, and I'll just turn it on for you. And there it is. So we've got these 2 nav lights here, the red and the green, blinking just right. They're coming through nice and pretty and bright through that dome. And once we paint this and that dome's the only thing there, boy, that's going to look pretty. This will all be light blocked, of course. And then on the underneath, we've got the 2 nav lights coming in, really bright and crisp. I am thrilled with this, and so I hope Mike will be, who this kit's for. And so it's working, everyone. Nice test in real time. I hadn't even tried it with everything connected. So here we go. Pause, clean it up, glue it, clamp it down. We'll do the gluing on the video, so we can see that and watch it being taped down. And we'll be right back. Thanks, guys. Okay, everybody, we're back, and you may notice that the lighting's a little bit different here. We shut it off just to kind of highlight what we're looking at here. One thing I want to point out, and since we're a learning channel, I was getting ready to wrap all this up and close her up, and then I realized I forgot to put one of the LEDs here, and this is back for the impulse engines that we're going to be lighting up. A little red, the red impulse engine. I forgot to put an LED light there. Almost wrapped this whole thing up, and would have been very disappointed on this. So a reminder to everyone, if you're planning to light, and even if you're not, just triple check, look at everything before you lock something down, because glue is permanent for the most part. I mean, you can kind of crack these things open, I think, so I've heard, but I haven't, knock on wood, not had to do that yet, or bothered if I wanted to. So just wanted to show you this real quick here with the lights down, and then I'm going to take a little pause here, locate the glue, and then we'll close it up and turn the lights on, turn this thing off, and we'll secure it down, and then we'll turn them on again to see a little bit better effect. Okay, be right back. Lighting back to normal, and couldn't find my glue. Don't know where I put it, but I have a backup here. There's a brand new thing. I was hoping to go through that other one. It'll turn up. Couldn't find it though. Weird. Anyway, okay. We are ready to close up, so let's do a quick review. We've got our green, red little SMDs, white SMDs. We've tested them. They're blinking. Everything's fine, and we've got our wires leading out. So one thing to call out, you may notice this wire here is white. So I went ahead and used a third color for this. And the only reason I'm using this is this lets me know that this is the ground wire coming out of this control board for the fast strobes. So this is going to connect to the negative wire on the strobe lights. And the reason I chose this white wire, obviously, so I know which one it is. And this is the first time I've used a third color. I just got this. I had ordered it a few weeks ago and got it, so figured why not give it a shot. Otherwise, if you don't have a third color, that's fine. It's just when you wire these things through, you always want to be very careful and use a piece of tape with a marker on it and flag it. So you're gonna have to like flag it after you put it through here, put a tape on it, flag it so you know what it is. If you forget which one and you end up using this as the ground for your whole model, it won't work, and you're going to be scratching your head and wondering what's going on. So that's why I opted to spend a few bucks and just get a third color wire for my instances where I need another kind of ground wire off of this nav board. Okay, enough talk. Let's glue. All right, so everything's tamped down as best I can. The spaghetti mess, I kind of mushed it down, put things together so they're not flopping around. The main thing I didn't want them rattling around when the ship was moving around, but I honestly could have left them how they were. Probably wouldn't have noticed, but just to get a little bit more secure. So glue, and we're going to put a fine bead. That's not good. There we go. That shouldn't be happening. Let's give this a test here. Haven't used it yet. All right, it's coming out okay. Nothing coming out here. I just tested it on a little cloth. Okay, we're going to put a fine bead of this all the way around this flat bit here on every part, and then we're going to close it up, and we're going to use tape and just wrap it around tight kind of like in a torque pattern, and I'll show that when we get to it. So here we go. Maybe we'll fast forward this. Maybe I can sing a song for you as you watch me do models. Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo. I'm just gluing my models, trying not to make a mess. Do you like my models? Will you please say yes? I'm gonna make a little blue bead all the way around my saucer. Here we go. Am I missing a spot? I don't know. But I'm gonna glue my model. And I'm getting glue everywhere. But that's okay. That's what sandpaper is for. And we're gonna do a model. And I'm almost done with this song. Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Doo. Doing models for you. Obviously, I'm not gonna quit my day job for modeling or for singing. Okay, we're ready to close her up. I'm just gonna go for it. Come on. Come on. There we go. Now, I'm using this little bit back here. Oh, well, now I got a problem. And I didn't think this light here is preventing me from getting it all the way down. So I'm just going to yank it off. And we're going to angle it and continue and try this again. See, things don't go right all the time right away. That was something I didn't anticipate happening. See, there's really isn't much room in these suckers. Okay, everything's good. I got a lot of spider webby gluey stuff coming out of here. That's okay. That's okay. All right, I'm just gonna go around here with my fingers to make sure it's more or less sealed together. And it is, for the most part. All right, time to tape. And once again, you know what? I didn't prep tape. Should have had this prepped. Let's just grab a few here. We'll grab 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do one in the back. And when I said torque style, we'll go back and then the front. So it's kind of like when you're doing the bolts on a tire. You do opposite ends as best you can, and that kind of keeps the tension from going. The only thing I'm doing here is just trying to be careful not to tape over any of my window groupings that I had. And I'm not going to tape over this nav light. Okay, just wrapping it around real tight. Now, okay, it's pretty much secure. I can kind of breathe a little. Maybe I can reset these. All right. Now I'm going to cut off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to cut off 8 more pieces of tape here. And it might seem like overkill. And maybe it is. But you can't have too much. You can have too little. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pieces of tape. All right. See, it's just like that, which drove me in here. Is my wife says, you know, why don't you go and make stupid, corny jokes in the garage? And so I did. But then I realized I don't have anyone to share them with. So I made a YouTube channel about making models. And that's going to be my gift to you. Is not model making. It's horrible jokes, and bad chipmunk singing, and puns, and talking too much. Well, hopefully not. I mean, you just want to watch this happen. Hey, while I'm thinking of this and I'm doing this, I'm considering doing maybe a live stream, you know, here and there, where when I'm working on models and if I'm not making a video, or I can just use snippets of it, but just streaming my process, because I'm in here for a long time. So if anyone's watching this, and if you're a modeler especially and bored, let me know. I mean, if you'd like to see some live streams of this, just to kind of, I don't know, see it happening in real time without any editing, or if you can call what I do editing. I'm just basically cutting out parts where I'm swearing. Just kidding. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Okay. That is taped. And I am happy. I'm happy with it. I've got a little bit of spindly spider stuff that I didn't expect, but this is a new glue. The other glue I was using is Testers. This is Revell. It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. I should probably put the cap back on. One thing about this glue, it's not really glue, it's cement, and it's most of these glues are, I think they're called welding, where these things actually kind of make the plastic fuse together. It somewhat melts it and makes a bond, really like a chemical bond between the two pieces of plastic via that agent. So the one thing about that stuff is it murders paint. It absolutely, it's like if I had painted, and I had done this before where I've made models and I'm like, oh, I'm going to paint these things really nice and then glue them together, and then you get a little bit of glue running off, and you know, it squeezes out, and then you get this little streak, and you had all this nice spray painting or airbrushing that you had done, and it was nice, and all of a sudden, my glue ate it. So that was one of the things I learned pretty early on, is don't paint. If you can avoid painting before you glue, do it. That isn't to say everything should be. So this kit here, we're going to be building this kind of in sub-assembly. So we've got this one down, and I'm very happy with it. It's nice and flush. I've got a little bit of sanding work. I can feel where the overhang, I didn't catch it, like here. That's fine though. And it's not hitting any of the window groups, so I can come through with some 180 grit paper and really flush that out nice and smooth. Then get the finer grit and flatten that out, and then we hopefully won't even need that much putty in this seam. Just minor putty work to get rid of this seam here. I don't want this thing being here for Mike. We got a pretty ugly one here in the front. It always seems to be that way. It looks like could use a little glue there too. It's kind of coming apart. Okay. Well, look at that. That came out. I don't like this glue. Cement. Oh, come on, you bugger. There we go. That's going to be a pain. I'm going to have to clean this off before I put that cap back on. Okay. So we got a little bit of a, where was it? Back here. Yeah, didn't quite glue together. I keep saying glue. I'm sorry about that, everybody. It's not really glue. So I'm just putting a little bit in here. I'm just spreading it out a tiny bit, just to allow us a little bit of this to get down in there. I got a little bit smudged there. I'm just going to wipe it off. hold that down, grab a piece of tape here. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tape over this window group, which I was trying to avoid. Okay, hold on one second. I'm trying to do that with my mouth. Shouldn't do things with your mouth that you're not supposed to. All right, let's kind of squish it a little bit. There we go. All right, some of that glue may take off one of these window panes. That's fine. I can just redo that after. So let's take another gander around. That's fine. A little bit more here, huh? Window groups. Oh, you know what it probably is now that I'm thinking of it? There's the lighting back here, behind here, and that might have been kind of pushing up against the top of the model, and so we may need to give it a little encouragement here. That's fine. It's not preferable to have to do that. Let's go this way, the other way around. Here, we're going to push it together, and then I'm going to pull this really hard. Yeah, that'll hold it. So the other light that's in there is kind of pushing up against that. That's why that was happening in the window group. So it didn't happen here, thankfully. That's okay. All in all, I'm pleased. I'm going to give this a good 24 hours when it dries tomorrow. Well, not 20, overnight. Tomorrow morning, we'll come out and we'll take this off. And I didn't mean to tape some wire on there. Get away. And then it'll be dry and cured by then. Then we can come through with the sandpaper, sand it down, and we will get the putty, the perfect plastic putty, which I have the box right here. And this is the product, and it's awesome. It's completely water soluble. So you can fill gaps and then just use a wet, damp cloth and wipe off the excess. It's great. Another cool thing is you can thin this stuff down. And if you have a syringe, which I've got somewhere, and I didn't plan on talking about this. I have a syringe somewhere. Ah, here she is. All right. If you have a syringe, what you do is you water this stuff down and then put it in a little container, wet it down to a consistency maybe of like heavy cream or syrup, and you can kind of get a little bit of that up in your syringe, and then just go through and slowly push, and it's a watering. It kind of finds its own creases. And it's a great technique that I picked up from Boyd over at TrekWorks. I've used it a couple of times. A great technique, and this what a great product this is. Tamiya also makes some good stuff. Just white putty. I haven't used this in a while, but this is pretty good stuff too. It just takes a lot longer to dry. This perfect plastic putty, to me, a little bit more versatile, but not to knock Tamiya's product. It's wonderful. And if that's what you got, use it. It's fine. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to... Oh, forgot to light her up. That's always the part I like seeing, like when I'm watching another person's models. I'm like, light that thing up, man. I don't want to see you blab about the model. I want to see the cool spaceship lights. So if you've been waiting for that, I sympathize. Here we go. And that's connected. And we're going to turn on the power. All right, there she is. Thank goodness it's still working. I would have had to crack her open before the glue dried. Would not have been happy. There would have been a lot of beeps and boops and technical difficulty signs on this video, and we don't want that. All right, so there she is. That's the saucer section. You can still see the spider's nest in there, and the LED there, all the light leaking through. That's fine. No problem. What we're gonna do, tomorrow morning, take off this tape. We're gonna sand everything down. We're gonna use the putty, let that dry for a little while, and then we're gonna get to priming and painting. Okay, the priming paintings, that's where it starts getting fun for me. And I just use old regular, just whatever you find at Home Depot or Lowe's. This is Rust-Oleum. I have a flat primer. This is paint and primer, but I've got it's a few bucks for this. You don't need to prime it with Tamiya stuff or anything if you don't want to, even though it's a wonderful product. Something like this. We're going to be coating this in black, obviously to block the light. We'll get there. I'm going to get ahead of myself and start talking. Anyway, okay, everyone, that wraps it for tonight. We will let it go, and we will be back. I'm not sure if this is the end of this video or just the end of this part. This being the first video for the channel, so after editing and stuff, we don't know what we're going to be. So we'll either see you next week or whenever the next video gets posted, or we will see you in a couple seconds. Talk to you later. Bye, everyone. Hey, everybody. A quick addendum to the last segment. I messed up and I had to reopen this sucker. What happened was this nav board, when I glued it in, I made a mistake and I didn't check where I had laid it on. And it turned out that it was laid over here. And there's a window group right here. And when I looked underneath, that this thing was blocking light, so we would have had a whole area of windows underneath the saucer section there, the bottom end, that we wouldn't have seen. So I was pondering it, and ultimately decided I'd better just open this thing up before the glue dried too much. And thankfully, these things went together really nicely, and so I was able just to get in there with this X-Acto knife, the number 11 blade, and hello, and get it pried apart without any trouble. It didn't crack or break anything. It came apart pretty easily. It still hadn't cured up, so I'm glad I caught that. And it's just kind of like a good point of lesson here. A learning opportunity, as they say. To even when you think you're good and you've got everything locked down and it's fine, and you close her up, take another look. Turn on the lights, look at it from angles, study it for a minute, because that is going to be the last chance you have to make any adjustments or fix anything. Because once this thing would have cured, I would have been up a certain creek without a paddle, as they say. It would have been a much more difficult job to get it corrected. So I was a little annoyed at myself, of course, but I was also very happy that I went through and checked and allowed the kind of system that I employ to work. So plus and minus there, the system worked, as they say. So I'm going to go ahead and bead this down. We're not going to repeat the video. I just wanted to call this out. So I took this off, pried off the nav board, made sure it was still working. Everything's fine. Re-hot glued it to an area where there's no windows back here. So we're good. I'm going to close her back up, and we will see you in the next video or the next segment. Bye. Greetings, everybody. And here we are. We've taken the tape off of the saucer section, and we are going to go ahead and putty through the seams. I'm extremely happy with this. It came out very flush, very smooth. I removed the tape, and I've gone through with the sandpaper and taken off the glue that kind of squirted out there as best I could. I could probably do a little bit more here. I think I'll hit that now. One thing to point out, the little maskings that I had put on the window groups did come off when I did the sanding and removed the tape, but it's still there. We'll just go back over it and remask. So a note to myself for later. Next time I do this kit, I will just mask it after this step here. Just got a little ahead of myself and didn't quite think everything through 100%. This is just a little bit of last touch up from sanding, and this is a lighter or a less intense grit here. I'm just doing it to smooth it out. Just going over here one last little time. There's a window group there. We'll go through and sand it. Now I do feel some quite roughness here, hangover from the saucer. So let's give it some good scrubbing. There's no windows here, so it's fine if I get a little bit more aggressive with it. And I do have this one thing. I don't make use of it too often. It's just canned air. Some of you, if you have an air compressor that has a little air gun on it, that works too. I just don't have one. So I'll use the spray air occasionally. Usually when it comes to sanding, you do end up getting dust on there, and it has to be addressed and removed. Sometimes I will just use a wet rag, a damp rag rather, to get it off. Sometimes air, and then I also have some tack cloth, which you can get at a local hardware store, and that does pretty good to remove it. It's very sticky stuff, and I'll use that. But we haven't even primed yet, so I'm not needing this to be smooth as glass just yet. Again, we're going to be putting several coats of paint and primer over this, and in between some of those we do go through and sand, so not too concerned with it at this point. Again, it could be scuffed everything up, and then so we're almost ready to prime this, everyone. So that's going to be the fun part. So for this little segment here, I'm just gonna get some of this perfect plastic putty and put it over here. I just a piece of cardboard that I have, and I put masking tape over it. And this is kind of my little palette that I use for this stuff. When it gets too much on there, I just put another layer of paint on there, and this thing works pretty good for me as like a little putty palette. Maybe I should put that on there, putty palette. So I'm just doing a little bit right now. I do this, if you use this, do it sparingly, a little bit at a time. It does dry out pretty quickly. So I have a little cheap palette knife here that I like to use. A lot of people use their finger, but I try to, I'm going to use my finger for this eventually, but I just kind of spread it on with this thing as best I can. The less I get on my finger, the better. And neat stuff. This is such neat stuff because it just wipes off with water. So you don't have to sand it. You can. Other putties you do. You have to wait several hours for it to dry. This stuff, not really. It dries pretty fast. But what I'm going to do here, so now I'm going to just use my finger. And I'm going to just run it through just like that, and it looks ugly and everything, but that's fine. Now you can see where it's kind of gotten into the seam. That's exactly what I'm looking for. This white stuff that's over on the top, that'll be wiped away. We'll do a little example of that. I just got my shop towel here and a spray bottle full of water. Always should keep one of these handy. Just lightly damp. It might even be a little too much. Oh, where'd you go, putty? There it is. Started drying out on me already. So I'm just going to take this and just lightly go over it. I'm not rubbing hard. On the areas where I know I don't want it, I can do a little bit more aggressive. But for where the seam is, I'm barely touching this. I am letting basically the damp cloth touch, and I'm letting it find its own way. And if you look here, let's see if we can zoom in and see it better. Right there. Hopefully you can see this on there. there's just that little bead of putty. That's what we're looking for. And I might go over and do this again, let this dry and go back over it and do it another time. But that's really it. This was such a great connection. I'm very happy with it. And we're going to go all the way around and do that. I'm not going to film that whole process. Zoom out. And then the other thing, we're going to cover these little areas right here. Let me get my little pointer. These two holes here. These are little pegs for the dome to kind of stick in. On the one thing I don't want to do, I want to cover these up because light's going to shine through here and you would end up seeing two little white dots on the dome. So I'm going to fill these with putty, with the same stuff, let it dry, and then on the dome, on the clear part, I'm going to cut that little bit off, and we'll just use some glue and just to make it secure on there, and it'll be fine. And this one hole here that we drilled in earlier will be enough to bring enough light in to just gently light that dome. I don't want it super bright, so it'll just be enough to glow and to where you see it. So the same thing happened here. I did this putty work last night off camera, so you can see here that's covered up, and we'll do the same thing. And then there's a hole here for the light to come through on the bridge. Other notes, I went through and redid the dome lights earlier today. You can see that. I wasn't too happy with the results, so I just got my X-Acto knife and I just nicked it off of there and redid it. And it came out a lot better. I was a little bit more pleased with it. So it's more of an actual dome. The top of the saucers are fine. Top of the saucers? Top of the saucer is fine. English. I got to learn that. So, okay, we're going to take a break. I'm going to go through and putty this around, wipe it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and remask everything, and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Not sure if this is the next section of the video that we were just looking at, or if this is another video. Well, either way, welcome back. So here we have the saucer section of the Enterprise, and it's all done. The last time we were talking, I had just glued this together. All the lighting was done, and I had made a mistake and misplaced the circuit board in there, that it was blocking one of these window groups here. So thankfully had to check it out before I went to bed and turn on the lights and looking it over, and I saw this little shadow in here, and I'm like, oh, well, it's blocking the light, so I'm gonna have to move it, which is a good lesson. So before you shut down for your day or move on and you've glued something, take a step back and take a look at it. Thankfully, I was able to catch this, and I'm caught on something here. I was able to catch this and thankfully be able to pry apart this guy with the old X-Acto knife, sand away all the glue, and then redo everything. So that's taken care of. We have done the putty work in here as we described in the last segment. That's ready to go, and I've gone ahead and put some of the mask, micro mask gel, this good stuff right here, over all of the navigation lights. It's on the underneath as well, right there. Touched up all the other port windows that we had, redid the masking on the windows on the side of the saucer, and that's ready to go. Also, we've filled in these two holes here, and if I can't find it without making too much of a racket, but right here is going to be the impulse engines, and this is typically where the little pegs go in there to hold it. I've gone ahead and filled that in because I didn't want any light leaking through it. So what I'll be doing is I'll be cutting off the little nubs that typically go in here, and we'll just be gluing it on straight and lining it up. Shouldn't be a problem at all. And then we drilled two holes here to let light come through to illuminate the impulse engines. And there's a 3-pronged LED about this size, kind of right behind these holes there. and that will shine through. It's going to look really sharp, real bright, directed right out there. I've tested it with the lights. I don't see any apparent light leaks here. So this saucer section here is ready to be primed. Everything's masked, ready to go, and we're going to have a whole video on just the painting and priming because that's super, super important. So let's put the old saucer section away and talk about the rest of the ship. We have here the bottom half of the secondary hull, and it wouldn't be worth talking about unless I could put the top part on there. Make sure I don't have any wires. Sorry about the spaghetti here. I had tested all the lighting and scrapped that little video. So we've got 6 LEDs here, 6 here, and 3 here. And that will illuminate all of this section here, as well as these 2, there's 4 round windows there that this little 3-prong guy will take care of. And this should be enough. And then also on the inside, I've glued it together, and it's kind of hard to see, and I should have taken a video of it, so I apologize. But on the inside here, we have 2 pieces of LED there, and they're just 3 long, and you can kind of see them in there. I'm trying to get there they are. You can see them pretty good in there. Just 2, and they illuminate the sides of this ship decently enough. There's a couple of these that are covered from the strip of LED that I had in there, and I just couldn't avoid it. I suppose I could have put a couple 5mm LEDs or SMDs in there, but I don't have any right now, and these little strips work just fine for me right now. And there may be 1 or 2 that are blacked out, but we can cover them with black paint and just say those lights aren't on. And again, we do have this light here, that light here are going to be red to match what we see in the show. And if you notice, all of the lights here from the secondary hull, bottom and top half, come out and kind of meet out here. So that means when we put this thing together, we're going to put it together kind of like this. All the lighting is going to be accessible here. And we're going to wrap everything up, put it together, kind of shove it inside a little bit. There's really no pretty way to do that. And then glue this together with the deflector array and everything. The saucer section wires go through this point here. And the only other little call out here is the this little black wire that I'm holding here. These are the negative wires for the strobe lights here in the back. And those have to connect to the 3rd color wire I opted with coming out of the saucer section. This 3rd wire, white wire, is connected to the nav board, and that controls the strobe effect. And so we just need to connect that to those black guys when we put this all together. And that's why I opted with this white wire instead of putting a little note or a flag on there. And that's it. So the only other thing we're waiting on here is I'm going to be ordering some other LEDs to go here on the nacelles, and those are going to illuminate the Bussard collectors. And if you see here, I put just 4 scrap pieces of sprue on the nacelles on each one, so that way the light, when we get it in there, it's going to illuminate the top. It'll be in the middle of both nacelles. So I just did it to kind of raise it. I didn't want it flying around or vibrating or flickering or anything, so we're going to just secure the light to that and let that illuminate the Bussard collector. So that is it. This whole sucker's wired. If you're not familiar with lighting, with wiring, I do suggest looking that up online. I am making a tutorial for that on the way I do it. I'm not the best by any means, but we're going to put a tutorial up on the channel just for beginners. So keep an eye out for that. If I have it up, but when I put this video up, I'll put a link in the description otherwise, find out it's not that hard. Not that hard. Positive, negative, be careful with your heat, soldering iron, solder, pretty simple stuff. We'll get it up there eventually, but don't let that deter you. Look up some videos online. There's tons of great creators out there, everybody. Please visit them all. Don't just subscribe to one. If you're involved in modeling, if you like modeling, the more sources of information you can have, the better. Don't ever rely on one source of information for anything in life. I think that's good advice to live by. So that's it. Sean, the SciFI model guy, signing out. And the next video we're going to have is the painting and priming, and we're going to have a good time doing that. Can't wait to share it with you. And we'll talk to you later, everybody. Take it easy.